and then turn everything on. And I guess we should be live and it should be working. And if it doesn't, I'm gonna be very, very sad. So, yeah. Okay. Good afternoon, everybody. Good that everybody's here. I'm here with the Rwandan ambassador, and we're going to do a Q&A moderated. I'll firstly introduce myself. Hopefully, you've already seen me throughout the week. But my name is Jens, and I'm this year in the board of the Hop Week. And I'm this year the position of partner, so I'm mostly responsible of getting communication with third parties and also getting partners in. But I'm not that important, at least, so perhaps it's better to introduce the Rwandan ambassador. And I think the best is to do it by himself, which I can probably not do it better than he can do it himself.
So do I have the floor?
Yeah, it's yours. It's all yours.
Okay. Thank you very much for having me again, and it's a pleasure to meet with you. In the past, we used to have a few students from Leiden here at the Embassy of Rwanda.
Yeah.
But now, due to this corona pandemic, we can't meet. But it has been always a pleasure to have you here at the Embassy.
Yeah.
So I'm the ambassador of Rwanda in the Netherlands, and I've been here since 2013.
2013,
and the Embassy of Rwanda here in the Netherlands opened its door in October 2006.
Okay.
So now it's been 14 years.
Okay.
So it's been a pleasure to have our embassy here to strengthen the bilateral relation with the Netherlands. But the Netherlands has, and Rwanda have had cooperation and diplomatic relations since the Netherlands opened its consular office in Rwanda in 1994, just after the genocide that happened in Rwanda, the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda. And the Netherlands have been one of the first countries to come to Rwanda and to support Rwanda during the post-genocide period, which was a very difficult time and a very challenging period. So since then, we managed to build a stronger and stronger relationship with the Netherlands from completely development aid program to now where we came to the point of now starting to talk about more development of trade and business relationship because Rwanda wanted to become a self-sufficient country. And we have been working with the Netherlands throughout these past 26 years.
Yeah.
So Rwanda today is a country before the COVID, was a country which is one of the most fast-growing economy. Rwanda is one of the safest country in Africa, actually number one. When you look at the last Gallup report, Rwanda is the safest country in Africa, and most importantly, Rwanda is the safest country for women to walk alone during the night. So Rwanda is today, when you consider the World Bank doing business report, Rwanda is number one in East Africa in the ease of doing business, and is second in Africa. and worldwide Rwanda is 37 in the ease of doing business in the 2019 report. So our past has not been very, not really that great. We had a very tragic history of the genocide, and we don't have much time to talk about it, but in 1994, more than 1 million innocent people were assassinated. 1 million innocent people, million Tutsis were completely wiped out. You can understand that in such a situation, it is very difficult to rebuild a country.
Yeah.
During this period, we had a situation where we, during the liberation struggle to stop the genocide in Rwanda, that took actually 100 days, 3 months.
Okay.
And the genocide was stopped by the RPF and led by the president of Rwanda, the current president of Rwanda, Paul Kagame. And we end up having 1 million people killed. The genocide was stopped, but we had around 3 million people who found themselves taken outside Rwanda as refugees. So, in a country which was populated by around 5 million people, you can understand that having 4 million, 3 million outside the country, 1 million killed, and having only 1 million left in the country, it was very completely challenging situation. So the situation was that at the end of the genocide, you have around 300 genocide survivors, among them kids, children, and widows. The country was completely destroyed, no electricity, no clean water, almost no food, administration completely destroyed, and no judicial institutions, no health care, schools, no teacher, no transport, no communication, even no money in the national bank. So that was the situation after the genocide. 26 years after down the road, the situation is what I just said. A fast-growing economy, a stable country, a safe country, is the number one in empowering women in the governance of the country. For example, in Rwanda, 64% of members of the parliament in Rwanda are women. Which makes number one in the world in terms of having more, the biggest number of members of parliament in a place. When you look at the members of the cabinet ministers, we have more than 52% are women as well. So Rwanda is at the forefront in really promoting women's rights and promoting gender equality worldwide. So in addition to that, Rwanda is a country which is committed to regional integration because we think that it is very important to really strengthen relationship with the region, and be it regional bloc like the East African region, but also at the continental level. It's why Rwanda was at the forefront in making the reforms of the African Union. As you know, the president of Rwanda was the chair of the African Union reform.
Yeah.
That was that compressed in 2018. And these reforms allowed actually to reach the point where we have now in place in Africa what we call the African Continental Free Trade Area, which means that today we have the possibility in Africa of free movement of people. We can make trade without all these cross-border barriers and so many other very interesting situation. At the multilateral level, Rwanda is now one of the key players in building sustainable peace. Rwanda is the third biggest contributor to the peacekeeping missions across the world. So you can understand that a country that were in a terrible situation 26 years ago, being now number 3 worldwide in contributing in peacekeeping forces across the world. In bilateral relation, as I said, we have very good bilateral cooperation with different countries, plus in the Netherlands, but also across the world. We have 32 embassies across the world, covering every country across the world. So
interesting to see how it all spread around the world so big. Yeah, what I've been receiving a lot is
what I say about Rwanda, and now I'm ready to have more discussion.
Perfect. Because I've been receiving loads of comments in the chat. For example, from what's her name again? From Arne de Bruin, and he visited Rwanda a couple of years ago, and he said that he really liked it because the people were so friendly, and that he really looked forward. Or he actually went 3 weeks there, meeting new people and learning about the genocide as well, because it's such an eventful period, of course, the genocide. And it's so interesting, what he said is so interesting how it changed from being like this horrific period to now this more progressive and more intuitive way. I want to say to the chat, people who are watching, you can ask your questions now. We will answer them, or at least we try, because probably going to be loads of them. You have to know there's going to be a 45-second delay with the stream. So if we read your question here, we'll answer it, but actually you will see it 45 seconds later. So that kind of, it's something we have to deal with. And I also got comments from, for example, if I read back, Sarah Majigwene Beye, I think if I pronounce your name wrong, sorry. And she says, I have Tutsi friends whose parents were refugees in a hotel, and according to them, Paul was a horrible man, womanly, abused and financially exploited the refugees. So maybe that's an inside information that I didn't even know about, because I think Paul is the owner of the hotel, if I'm not sure, and she's referring to Hotel Rwanda. And actually she has some inside information from one of her friends whose parents were refugees in the hotel, and said actually that the owner wasn't the hero, or at least the person which portrayed.
Yes.
Have you heard stories about that?
Yes, of course, it's true. And if she's talking about the famous Hotel Rwanda movie, yes, if you have watched it, there is one man who's trying to portray himself as the savior of the people who took refuge at the hotel.
Yeah.
But we have to say that it is not true. This man did not protect the refugees over there.
Oh.
The hotel was protected by the UN peacekeeping mission.
Yeah.
But this guy was the manager of the hotel.
Yeah.
Actually, instead of really providing support and relief to the refugees in the hotel, actually instead he was making business out of their suffering. He was making everyone pay,
Yeah.
and he was strengthening, even threatening people, trying to put them, to send them out of the
Oh no.
hotel if they don't pay.
Yeah.
We have so many people actually who tried to enter the hotel, and he was getting out and asking them to pay first when they were facing these militias at the roadblock in front of the hotel. So it's true what the young lady is saying. This is a fake hero.
Oh, so interesting to see that everybody sees the movie and thinks it's so positive, but actually there's a background story behind it as well.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, I have a follow-up question from Alexander Christian Hensler, and he or she asked, how much blame should the international community take for standing by and not intervening in the genocide?
Very interesting question, and of course you have to know that even the UN actually made its apologized actually for not intervening in Rwanda. The former Secretary General of the UN came to Rwanda to apologize and to meet with the survivors.
Yeah.
It was just words.
Yeah.
But we had to wait really concrete actions. For example, we still have so many genocide survivors, mainly women who were raped during the genocide and who contracted the VIH, and these people, these survivors, never got any support from the UN. The support they got was coming from only the Rwandan government. But we have never witnessed any compassion by the UN toward the victims. So you have two situations. The international community did nothing to stop the genocide. But also, at the end of the genocide, specifically the UN did nothing actually to help at least the genocide survivors, specifically the victims, the most vulnerable ones, the children and the women, mainly women survivors who were raped. So there were no single program about that. So this is a very, very, very sad situation.
So you actually blame them quite a lot for not doing anything.
Yes, of course. We know the international community is something really, it's virtual. It's not a really tangible thing. It's about community of country.
Yeah.
When you find that countries can't get together to take one decision, then it is a very challenging situation.
Yeah.
So the UN is the body where countries meet. So if you have one country actually which doesn't want something to happen, then they block everything.
Yeah.
So this is the weakest point of the UN.
Agreed.
If you have a member of the Security Council who does not agree on doing something, then this thing will not happen. You understand me?
Yeah.
So we blame them for that. But also we are happy that the Rwandan people themselves actually found the resilience and the courage actually to overcome.
To rebuild. Yeah.
So, and bilateral support with countries across the world. This is what I said. But at the multilateral level, UN, it was a failure, completely a failure.
Yeah. Yeah, that actually ties into the second question from Minea Dragan. Again, if I pronounce wrongly, sorry. And because Rwanda is doing so much better now and positive, and for example the example of lots of women in Congress, like it's going in the right direction, and he or she wonders, how do you think Rwanda can spread its positive example in the region, for example to neighboring countries?
Rwanda is, as I said, one of our priorities actually to build a very good relationship with the neighboring countries. And of course, we cannot force anyone to follow our, our vision. We can only share if anyone wants. And this is what has been happening, where Rwanda managed to receive so many delegations coming from across Africa to see what Rwanda did. And in that regard, Rwanda put in place a specific organization that will be helping. A recent one, 2 years ago, we have what we call a Rwanda Initiative Agency, which actually helps different people across the world to come and to see what has been happening in Rwanda, how Rwanda managed to overcome so quickly all these situations. So we are ready to share our example, our achievements.
Yeah, perfect. That's good to hear. Georgie, it's actually also a follow-up question. Wonders then, what is the main priority of the Rwandan government currently? Especially with, I think the genocide is of course not forgotten, but it's been a while already, 30 years ago. What is now the main priority for the Rwandan government?
So the main priority actually is Rwanda to become a middle-income country, to become economically more sufficient. That is number one. Yeah. So to achieve that, we needed to build so many, we do so many things to put in place good institutions, to improve the government, to improve the health of our people, to invest in the education, to educate the people without any exception, and to stabilize the country, to have a safe and a secure country. Yeah. So, for example, in Rwanda, about education, we have put in place a program that allow or that help all Rwandans, the kids actually, to have free education. 12 years of free education in public schools. It is mandatory to have every kid at school. So we have what we call universal health insurance. Today, any Rwandans, every Rwandan has access to health insurance, which allowed Rwanda to reduce mortality rates.
Yeah, okay, good to hear. Okay.
Rwanda progress, so these are our projects.
Okay. Yeah, it also makes sense, I guess. I feel like you really have all the groundwork now to really start developing in a healthy way, economically, socially as well. And then perhaps you can. I already feel that Rwanda is the example for neighboring countries, because of course the genocide was a horrible thing and it really is a groundwork, but the shift from having this horrible event and then going to this positive motivation now is amazing, and I really indulge that. I have a question from Anna. Mr. Ambassador, how do you think the fact that there are extraordinarily many women in charge in Rwanda has impacted the political climate? As you said before, there are, I'm not really sure how many percent, but at least the most women in the political scene, and how did that affect the climate itself?
So many things were successful due to this policy of supporting or empowering women. When we have a population of already 51% of the population of Rwanda are women.
Mm.
How can you pretend to develop a country if you leave behind 50%, 51% of the population?
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense.
No, of course not.
Just, just this being, the baseline.
Yeah.
If you want to develop a country, you have to develop the country as a whole. You have to have everybody involved. So this means that you have more people contributing. You educate everybody.
Yeah.
You have good teachers. You have good health workers. You have business people. We have even security people. Like the police.
Mm.
So, for example, Rwanda is number one in assisting and helping women's what we call the zero tolerance for gender-based violence. So Rwanda is today number one in Africa as well. So this actually helped Rwanda to have everybody on board.
Yeah.
So the role of women in the developing of Rwanda today, it's tremendous. It's tremendous. I can give you more details about that, but we don't have time for that.
Yeah.
So,
of course, I understand. Yeah, I think the example having, I thought that I just checked it, 64% women in parliament, which is of course amazing. Do you think, and that's a question from Melanie, do you think other countries should also follow with more women in parliament, or for example set a quota?
Absolutely. It's ridiculous actually to have really double standards.
Yeah.
For example, I know that in so many countries actually you have some people or some even companies having different salaries, different treatment.
Yeah.
Between the men and the women, even having same position, working at the same level. This is very ridiculous.
Yeah.
You have potential, you deliver, you have results. Why do you treat people differently? So this should not happen.
No.
Just like that. This is a very simple, just very baseline for us.
Yeah.
So people should be treated equally. If we talk about ethnic background, religion, why should we not talk about equality between men and women?
Yeah.
If about equal treatment, then it should be the same between men and women. So really, we think that the world would benefit from that.
Yeah.
Having also women treated the same way as men.
Yeah, agreed. Definitely agree on you with this one. I feel like this example of Rwanda should make other countries follow as well. I have a question.
Just an example. Just to give you an example. Would you, for example, would you agree, for example, when you have your sister or your mother with full competence being mistreated? That's I think.
No, of course not. No.
So you don't want something to happen to your sister, to your mother.
Yeah.
Should this terrible, horrible thing happen to another woman? So that should be the starting point.
Yeah, definitely. Because in the Netherlands, I think it's around 30% in parliament, which are women. Yeah, I also feel that the number should go up, definitely. And also, it doesn't make sense to, as you said before, to leave out the 50%, or at least don't make it an even scale. So I definitely agree with you on that. I have a question from Fabio Garcia del Rio, and he asked, Mr. Ambassador, what are your views on the Eastern African community? Do you support its further integration into an Eastern African Federation? And how do you perceive Chinese investment in Africa in general, but in East Africa in particular?
Yeah. You see, when we talk about regional integration, we are talking about bringing people together, trying to be uh, one block.
Mm-hmm.
As I said, if we manage to have the same philosophy, the same understanding, the same ideology in doing business, in education, where we learn from each other, we learn from the best practices.
Yeah.
They talk about quality of education, quality of health, making business together. Having movement, free movement of people,
Yeah.
have no more borders. That is our dream.
Yeah.
So if you can have such in place, and we, and we are on the right, in the right direction, that
Mm.
will be, that will be the best thing to do. Like what you have here in Europe, where you have the Schengen and you have, a common market where people can do business.
Yeah.
Today, start your business. If you are Dutch, go to Belgium or to
Yeah.
Italy or to Spain, and you start your business, and you can export without additional taxes, and you have same regulations, same standards.
Yeah.
That is something that we needed to achieve as well.
Yeah.
Then the second question about China coming into and doing business in Africa. Of course, China, like many other countries across the world, are welcome to come and do business in
Mm.
Africa. So what we want to, on our side, is just to have partners who we can trade with, we can do business with.
Yeah.
That's all. So be it China, be it the US, be it any country across the world. So everybody is welcome to do business with Africa or with East Africa.
Okay.
Yes.
Yeah. Good to hear. Yeah, I think because there's always that controversy, especially from Western countries in regard of China when they're gaining more influence in these regions. But what I don't understand is why we as a Western countries would feel so awkward when, for example, or China or Russian would like to gain or at least invest in these countries, because it's of course for your gain yourselves as well.
Yeah, I know. Me neither. I don't understand. But we on our side, it's very clear.
Yeah.
We want to build friendship
Yeah.
and partnership with everybody.
Yeah, that's good to hear as well. I have a question again from Minea, and I think actually that ties into this question about other countries or at least interfering at least with countries in Africa in general. And she or he wonders, how do and could Rwanda and other African countries protect themselves from interference by more developed old colonial powers in the local economic and political affairs. So that's strictly aimed at, I guess, old colonial powers, which might still be influencing these regions in ways which are then undesirable.
So the only way to deal with that is to become really united.
Yeah.
As Africans, having common policies, having same vision, having same standards as a bloc.
Mm.
If we are united, then we'll be stronger, and
Yeah.
we'll be able to have a one voice for us. Actually, this is what is happening at the African Union with the new reform. The African Union, the vision is every time to come together to have one African position on issues related to global issues. So this is the only way to really to become really independent. But if we stay divided and trying to work alone, this will not help at all.
Yeah.
So we are on the right direction, of course. Maybe it will not happen tomorrow, but we are laying the foundation today for the next generation to come, really to be one united region,
Yeah.
which is Africa actually.
Yeah. I understand, of course, that.
Look at a country like Rwanda or any country. How can you, sorry, a
No,
country
no.
of 12 million people
Yeah.
pose something to a so big, bloc like the EU?
Yeah.
If you are one, okay, even if you take one country like Nigeria, which is the biggest, Nigeria or South Africa, one of the biggest economy in Africa, alone they cannot, do anything.
No.
No, but if it's about Africa together and discussing with Europe,
Yeah.
then things can happen.
Yeah. Yeah.
Alone you can't achieve anything.
Yeah. Understand. Okay. Then we go to the next question. There are actually loads, and I hope that we can answer them all. But yeah, we'll try to go. Yeah, we'll try to take home, of course, and answer the question with everything that we want to say about it, of course. So if your question gets upheld, please stick around because we'll probably end up answering it at the end. I have a question from Paul Navarrete, and he or she wonders, Mr. Ambassador, how has the genocide affected to the political relations of Rwanda with the international community? And I guess he is pointing at, of course, there was a lot of resent against the United Nations after the genocide happened, that they did not intervene. And how was the position of Rwanda in relation to the international community afterwards?
Of course, after the genocide, we had a different situations. We had so many, as I said, the country being very friendly.
Yeah.
So politically, so many countries came and supported Rwanda and helped our country to make to be stable and to make progress. Of course, we had other countries actually who were not that friendly,
No.
and actually who were even hostile. Some powerful country, I will not name, but the people if you look at, if you make some research, but they were very few countries which were very hostile because they were doing business or they were partners of the government who committed genocide.
Okay.
So that situation stayed across, during so many years.
Yeah.
But today, with the new leadership of that country, the situation has stabilized, and then we are starting from scratch, and now trying to build better relationships.
Okay.
Globally, in general, politically, we had so many friends and supporting, but few were hostile and reluctant.
Yeah.
But I think we have everybody on board, and now we are working with everybody.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. I have a question then. We already discussed women quite extensively. Yeah, that might be interesting. From Emil Tau Björn, and again, probably my pronunciation is bad, sorry for that. And he or she wonders, Mr. Ambassador, what are the characteristics of good governance in Rwanda, and what is the political philosophy of the government of Paul Kagame?
Yeah. So if I start by the last one.
Yeah.
At the end of the genocide, has devastated the country.
Yeah.
We made the three fundamental choices to stay together.
Yeah.
Build unity in Rwanda, unity among the Rwandans. We did not. We put in place programs and institutions for the promotion of unity and reconciliations.
Yeah.
Today we have we see ourselves as Rwandans. we are no longer seeing ourselves in the lens of such ethnic group.
Yeah.
So we are talking about the younger generation is promote the Rwandan identity. This is very, very important.
Yeah.
The second thing is to really to be accountability.
Yeah.
Accountability at all levels, accountability of the government, accountability of the citizens. The government is accountable to the citizens. Citizens are accountable to the government.
Yeah.
So that to promote the human rights in our country, and to sustain really the rights of the people of Rwanda. So everybody worked toward that.
Yeah.
So the third decision that we did and we had is to think big.
Yeah.
You know, to say, hey guys, we have to do better. We have to make progress.
Yeah.
We have to progress, and the sky is the limit. We have to be ambitious, to have a good vision. Of course, it is good to have a vision. It is good to have a dream. It is good to think big, but the most challenging thing is to implement that.
Yeah.
So this is what we managed to do, really to work hard, to be resilient. You know, we met so many challenges, but we say, okay, the past is it's behind.
Yeah.
That's the most important.
Yeah.
You know, the past, the bad past is behind.
Yeah.
So what can we do for the next generation? We needed to invest in the youth.
Yeah.
Continuously investing in the youth, continuously investing in women, as I said, and really to think big. When you look at Rwanda today, for example, just an example, where Rwanda is what was number one in Africa to lay across the country the optic fiber to give access to everybody, first internet. When you started to do that, people were saying, you know, why Rwanda do you want to have internet or free communication across the country? You know, you don't need that.
Yeah.
Rwanda is a local country. So when we say, okay, we are going to put in place a vibrant air transport company, the Rwanda Air, which is becoming one of the, the best across Africa.
Yeah.
People were saying, you know, Rwanda, you don't need such a company.
No.
Yes, why should other have, air transport company and not Rwanda? So this is what we say, to think big. Today, Rwanda is now, one of the, the second most preferred destination for international conference in Africa.
Yeah.
After South Africa, after Durban. So, and people were saying, you are going to invest in conference facilities, and people are saying, no, Rwanda, you don't need that. You don't need it to be, the hub for international conference.
No.
How many money you can earn in receiving people. So to think big is about that.
Okay, that makes sense. Yeah, I think that answers that question quite clearly, and also that new approach, that new mindset, and also really starting from the foundation, starting with the youth. Yeah, it's quite admirable to see. I'm thinking about, because we have lots of questions to come, and for example, we'll dive deeper into the Congo Wars from, I think Fabio sent that, and also Sarah wants to ask a question about trust in international organizations restored, and also Canada. I'm one from Iliana, and she wonders something about Romeo Dallaire, which might also be interesting. But I guess we'll go first for a short break and resume in 5 minutes, so that will be 12:28. So to have a short little drink, and then maybe we can wrap up the last half hour in one way, which will be nice, hopefully. So guys, we're gonna go for a short break. We answer your question as soon as possible. We'll resume at 12:30. Because that will make the live stream a little bit more interactive, and we don't have a long seat. the best way is to have a break sometimes. So I hope you guys see you at 12:30 again, and we'll be answering new questions as well. So enjoy the funny music, which I hope you liked, and we'll be back at 12.